Elena Voss had waited her whole life for this night. Every story she had heard since she was a small girl spoke of the mate bond, the moment when two souls recognized each other across a crowded room, and everything else in the world went quiet. She had imagined it 1,000 times. She never imagined it would happen at the coronation of the most powerful Alpha King the Northern Territories had ever known, and she never imagined it would end in her ruin. The Blackthorn Pack Hall was full of light and music that evening. Silver banners hung from the high wooden beams, and hundreds of wolves in their finest clothes stood shoulder to shoulder to watch Damian Cross take his father's throne. Elena stood near the back, invited only because she worked in the kitchens preparing the feast. She was human-born, raised by a pack that had taken her in as a child after her parents died, and she carried no strong bloodline, no title, nothing that would ever draw the attention of a king. Then Damian turned his head, and their eyes met. The bond snapped into place instantly, a warmth spreading through her chest, like sunlight breaking through clouds. She gasped, and pressed a hand to her heart. She looked up and saw the same shock flash across Damian's face, quickly followed by something colder, something like anger. The hall fell silent. Everyone had felt the shift in the air, that unmistakable pulse of magic that meant a king had found his mate. All eyes turned first to Damian, then followed his gaze to Elena. Elena took a small step forward, her heart pounding with a joy she had never known before. She had heard her whole life that when the bond formed, it could not be denied. It was the will of the moon goddess herself. But Damian did not step toward her. He did not smile. He stood frozen at the top of the stone steps, staring at her as though she were a mistake that needed to be corrected. "I reject this bond," he said. His voice was calm, almost bored, but it echoed through the silent hall like a crack of thunder. Elena felt the words hit her before she understood them. Then the pain came, a searing, tearing sensation that started in her chest and spread through her entire body, as if something alive was being ripped out of her by its roots. She fell to her knees on the stone floor. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Somewhere in the back, a woman covered her mouth in horror. "Please," Elena whispered, though she barely knew what she was asking for. Mercy, maybe. An explanation. Anything. Damian did not move to help her. His jaw was tight, his eyes hard. "A king cannot be tied to a kitchen girl with no lineage," he said, loud enough for the whole hall to hear. "This pack deserves a queen of strength, not weakness." The words cut deeper than the pain in her chest. Elena knelt there, shaking, humiliated in front of hundreds of wolves who had once smiled at her kindly and now looked at her with pity, or worse, contempt. A rejected mate was marked forever, cast out from the safety of pack life, vulnerable to anyone who wished her harm. Everyone in that hall knew it. Everyone watched to see what she would do. She did the only thing she had strength left to do. She stood, wiped her face, and walked out of the hall without another word. No one stopped her. She did not remember much of the walk that followed. She remembered cold air on her wet cheeks, and the trees growing taller and darker around her as she left Blackthorn territory behind. She remembered her legs growing weak, her chest still aching where the bond had been torn away, and the growing certainty that a rejected mate rarely survived long once she was alone in wolf country, either from grief, from exposure, or from some other pack that saw a wandering unprotected wolf as easy prey. By the time she reached the edge of a forest called Silver Hollow, she could no longer stand. She sank down at the base of an old oak tree, and the last thing she remembered was closing her eyes and thinking that this, finally, was the end of her story. But it was not. She woke to moonlight so bright it seemed to glow from inside the air itself, silver and soft, pooling across a grove she did not recognize. The pain in her chest was gone. In its place was a strange, quiet stillness, as though something old and patient was waiting for her to notice it. "You are not dying tonight, Elena." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, gentle as moonlight on water. Elena sat up slowly and saw a woman standing among the trees, dressed in robes that seemed woven from starlight, her hair long and silver, her eyes holding depths that no mortal eyes could hold. Elena had heard of her only in old stories told to children at bedtime, stories she had never quite believed. "Are you?" Elena could not finish the question. "I am Celine," the woman said, "and you have been waiting for me far longer than you know, though not in the way you think. Elena bowed her head, unsure of what else to do in the presence of a goddess. I don't understand. My mate rejected me. I should be dying right now, not talking to you. Selene knelt beside her, and when she touched Elena's chest, warmth spread through her once more, gentle this time, healing rather than binding. Damien Cross did not destroy you tonight, Selene said. He freed you from a bond that was never meant to hold you for long. You were never meant to be a king's mate, Elena. You were meant for something far older than his crown. Elena shook her head, still trying to understand. I'm nobody. I have no pack lineage. I was raised in the kitchens. You were raised in the kitchens because the ones who took you in did not know what you carried, Selene said. Your blood is the oldest blood among wolves, the bloodline of the very first wolf who ever walked beneath my light. It was hidden generations ago to protect it, passed down quietly through mothers who never knew what they truly held, until it reached you. Elena stared at her, speechless. Tonight, Selene continued, I give you what I have not given to any wolf in 1,000 years. Not the mark of an alpha, nor a beta, nor a queen who stands beside a king. I give you the mark of the Lunarch, the one title above all others, the one voice that answers to no pack and no crown, but only to the balance of all packs together. She pressed 2 fingers gently to Elena's forehead, and Elena felt something ancient settle into her bones, quiet and certain, like a missing piece finally returning home. When she looked down at her hands, faint silver light traced along her skin before fading. When she caught her reflection in a nearby pool of water, her eyes held a soft silver ring around the edges that had not been there before. What does this mean? Elena whispered. It means you no longer need his bond, his pack, or his mercy, Selene said. It means that wolves across every territory will feel the shift in the air tonight and know that something old has awakened. Some will come to test you, most will come to kneel, and the king who rejected you will soon learn exactly what he threw away. With that, Selene's form began to fade into the silver light of the grove, leaving Elena alone once more, but no longer broken. For the first time since the coronation hall had gone silent around her, Elena felt something other than grief. She felt the quiet, steady beginning of purpose. Word travels fast among wolves, faster than any message carried by human roads. Within days, rumors spread from territory to territory that a woman marked by the moon goddess herself had appeared in Silver Hollow, a Lunarch, a title so old that most young wolves had never even heard it spoken aloud. Elders who remembered the old stories came first, cautious and curious, testing the truth of the rumors with their own eyes. When they knelt before her without hesitation, younger packs quickly followed. Elena found herself changed in more than just her eyes. She carried herself differently now, not with the nervous energy of a kitchen girl trying not to be noticed, but with a quiet calm that made others lower their voices when she entered a room. She did not ask for the loyalty that packs offered her. She simply listened to their disputes, their fears, their hopes, and somehow, without raising her voice, she brought a kind of peace that many packs had not felt in years. 2 small packs who had feuded over hunting borders for a decade laid down their grievances after a single evening in her presence. A pack broken by a cruel alpha's rule found the courage to challenge him, knowing the Lunarch would not let them be punished for seeking fairness. Meanwhile, in Blackthorn territory, the mood had shifted into something far darker. Damien had expected life to continue as it always had. He had expected the pack to forget the strange, uncomfortable spectacle of a rejected bond within a season, as such things were sometimes quietly forgotten. Instead, he found himself waking every night with a hollow ache in his chest, a wound that never fully closed, the price every wolf paid for breaking a true bond, though few ever spoke of how heavy that price truly was. Worse than the ache was the whispering. Elders who had once respected him began exchanging glances when his name was mentioned. Warriors who had sworn loyalty to his father now hesitated before offering the same loyalty to him. When the story of the Lunarch reached Blackthorn territory, and pack members realized exactly whose bond their king had rejected, the whispering grew louder, and it was no longer quiet enough for Damien to ignore. You rejected the Lunarch, one of his oldest advisors said to him one evening. Disbelief and something like fear thick in his voice. Do you understand what you have done? The goddess has not blessed anyone with that title in 1,000 years, and the one time she chooses to do so, It is the very woman you called too weak to be your queen." Damien said nothing, because there was nothing he could say. Every night, the ache in his chest reminded him of exactly what he had thrown away, and every day, the pack around him grew a little more restless, a little more uncertain of the king they had crowned with such celebration. Eventually, pride gave way to desperation. Damien rode to Silver Hollow himself, alone, without guards or advisors, because he did not want witnesses to what he was about to do. He found Elena standing at the edge of the grove, where Pax came to seek her counsel, the silver ring around her eyes catching the afternoon light. She did not look surprised to see him. She had known, somehow, that this moment would come. "Elena," Damien said, and for the first time in his life, his voice carried no command in it at all. "I was wrong. I let my pride decide something that should have been decided by my heart. I am asking you to forgive me. I am asking you to let the bond return." Elena studied him for a long moment, and for just a heartbeat, she remembered the joy she had felt the instant their eyes had first met in that coronation hall, before everything had gone wrong. She let herself feel that memory fully, without pushing it away, and then she let it go. "The bond cannot return, Damien," she said gently. "What was broken that night is gone. But even if it could return, I would not ask for it back. I am not the same woman who knelt on that floor begging you for mercy. I do not need your crown, your pack, or your love to know my own worth anymore. The goddess has already shown me who I am." Damien's shoulders fell, and for the first time, Elena saw not a king in front of her, but simply a man carrying the full weight of a mistake he could never undo. "Then what happens to me?" he asked quietly. "You rule your pack," Elena said, "as you chose to that night. But you will rule it alone, and you will carry that ache for as long as you live, because that is the price of what you chose. It is not a punishment I am giving you. It is simply the truth of what happens when a bond is broken." She turned then, and walked back toward the grove, where wolves from a dozen packs waited patiently for her guidance, leaving Damien standing alone at the edge of Silver Hollow, watching the woman he had once called unworthy walk into a destiny far greater than any throne he could have offered her. Elena never looked back. She had grieved once, in a coronation hall full of silence, and she had grieved again, alone beneath an oak tree, at the edge of a forest that did not yet know her name. She would not grieve a third time for a choice that was never truly hers to make. The moon goddess had given her a new path, one built not on being chosen by a king, but on the quiet, steady strength she had carried inside her all along, waiting patiently for someone, anyone, to finally see it. And now, at last, the whole wolf world did.